Hello, I'm DC. What if I tell you that there is a secret calculation method known as the CCA method, which will make calculation 10 times easier for you? Today, we'll be learning it. Are you ready to learn this method? Let's get into it. Let's imagine that this is the position. Black has just played queen to h4, threatening checkmate on the h2 square. Most players here will see this hanging knight and will instantly capture it, not realizing that there's a checkmate. Some players will see this hanging pawn and will play a move like h3. However, this position is still winning for black as they are just a knight up. So what's the best move? We can find it using the CCA method, which stands for checks, captures, and attacks. So a good player here will ignore this hanging knight, ignore this checkmate threat, and will ask themselves about checks, captures, and attacks. Remember, checks are the highest priority, and we search for checks first. How can white give a check to black? Hmm. I see queen to a8, which delivers check to the black king on g8. Wait, the black king can't move anywhere. Looks like black has to play queen to d8 to stop. But then we just capture the queen. And guess what? It's a checkmate. The king cannot move anywhere. So in this example, we saw how using the checks, captures, and methods protocol helped white win the game instead of playing silly moves like h3 or capturing the knight. Let's move on to a more advanced example. In this opening position arising from the French defense, black has just played pawn to b5, expanding on the queen side. But in reality, this is a huge mistake. Can you exploit this using the checks, captures, and attacks method? The first check I see is this ridiculous move, bishop takes h7. But it doesn't make sense. What if black's king just takes back? We must be losing here, right? Okay, let's not calculate this. No, that's the wrong approach. After the king captures, we did not even ask ourselves what we will play next. Let's look at checks, captures, and attacks from this position. Checks have the highest priority, so we'll look at checks first. Okay, I see queen to d3, which is a check. But then black just plays g6, and we are clearly down a piece, which means that we are losing. Okay, what about some other check? Knight g5? Hmm, the queen cannot capture because then we'll be up material. Let's say the king runs back. Now many players will give up because they can't see any more checks. So there are no checks. Let's think of captures because captures have the are second in line of priority. What about pawn takes pawn? Now, some players here will calculate knight takes c5 first, but we also need to think of checks, captures, and attacks for our opponent. Queen takes delivers check, and after we move the king, black's king can just run away with f6 and then trade, and black's king is free to escape and will be safe. Hmm. So let's not capture. So there are no good checks and no good captures because moves like knight takes pawn don't make sense clearly. How about attacks? Look at this H file. We sacrificed our bishop to open it up. Wait, queen to h5 threatens checkmate on the h7 square. Now let's think of checks, captures, and attacks for our opponent. I don't see any checks. Captures, I see knight takes and pawn takes, but then there's just a checkmate. If the queen captures, we are up material. And if f6 to think that the king can run away, we just have a checkmate. What else can black play? They can move the rook, but then queen to h7 followed by queen to h8 is also a checkmate. Now, just in case you are wondering what happens after knight to g5, well, in that position, after king to g6, in this position, black's king is really exposed. And even though we are down a piece, we can look at checks, captures, attacks. queen d3 is the way. And here, if black plays king h6, can you find the checkmate in one? Move is queen to h7. If king h5, we give a check. Again, we are following checks, captures, attacks. There's nothing complicated. We're not calculating 20 moves ahead or anything. Just checks, captures, attacks. And then there's checkmate. Now, the most complicated part is f5. The king is clearly exposed, and we can take en passant. The king has to take the pawn, and in this position, instead of trying to think of a concrete variation or line, we can simply just develop our rook. And even though we are down a piece technically, this king is so weak that according to the engine, we are +5. So we are basically up a rook. And from here, the ideas are um, knight takes pawn, taking advantage of the pin, f5 to take advantage of the queen and the king on this file, black's losing here. So for example number 3, we have a game which I played in an over the board tournament recently. I'm playing black, and you must have noticed I have 4 minor pieces while white only has 3. But white also has 2 extra pawns because they sacrificed in order to launch a vicious attack upon my king. The queen and bishop will join, this bishop will join, the knight can jump in, the rooks will join the party. I was extremely nervous here. The best move by the engine is e takes f5 because white wanted to open up my center. I was even more worried. So e takes f5. This was the best move. I didn't play it because here I thought after knight b6 attacking the bishop and the pawn, I would have to move, and after takes, I thought I am losing here because of these weak squares, the pressure upon this pawn and bishop. I felt really uncomfortable here. But in reality, I don't have to play bishop to c6. I can play another forcing move. Can you find it? I'll follow checks, captures, attacks. I don't see any reasonable checks here. Queen takes pawn, just hands the queen. What about captures? If I capture the pawn, either bishop takes pawn, giving me a check, or knight takes the f5 pawn. Either way, it's not a good position. Okay, so there are no reasonable captures. Now, what about attacks? I just magically assumed that bishop c6 or a6 or c8 is forced to protect my bishop. But do I have to defend my bishop? The attacking move here is f4, which is extremely hard to see. If pawn, I just take the knight for free. If the queen takes, knight e4 is another forcing move attacking the queen. And queen g4 is forced, after which I win the knight and I'm winning the game. And if rook takes f5, I still win because I just win the knight. In the previous variation, we saw that because I didn't consider all my checks, captures, and attacks, which in this case was that f5 move, I couldn't find the best move and I settled with not the best move. It's an inaccuracy. Knight to e4. And white is slightly better, but I ended up winning the game. So that was the checks, captures, attacks method. Always remember, checks have the highest priority, then it's captures, and then it's attacks or threats. Now what I want you to do is I want you to play a long game, let's say 10 plus 0 or 15 plus 10 format. And I want you to calculate using this method during critical moments of the game. Remember, don't overthink it. Many people think that, oh, I cannot use a method like this because it takes so much time and I have to do it every move. That's not true. Use the CCA method during critical moments and you'll be good to go. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next one.